Hi, welcome. My name is Neil Winteregg. I'm the Director of Sales Training here at Matterhorn Business Development and Matterhorn Recruitment Services. And today I am joined by Dr. Greg Winteregg, the CEO of both companies. It just so happens we share the last name. Actually, no, he is my dad. But I wanted to do a quick introduction so that you could find out who we are and who Dr. Winteregg is, who I am, who the company is, and what kind of separates us or makes us different from some of the other sales training organizations that you've heard of, or maybe online training that you've done. And we kind of wanted to wade through some of the questions that people ask us and kind of just do a video for you that says this is who we are, this is our philosophy, and this is what we want to do. So to get that started, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Winteregg here, and he's going to tell you his story and how he got to be here. So welcome.
Thank you, Neil. So I joke with people and say I'm now in my third career. So as Neil said, I am a dentist, but I no longer practice. I graduated from Indiana University in 1981. And I have my practice in a small farm town in northern Indiana. And through the 80s, I had a lot of practice management consultants that would come into the office, and I would pay them by the month. And I actually had over $60,000 worth of consulting. And I connected with a management company out of Chicago in 1992, and they didn't consult me. It was actually focused on business training. And I learned how to sell, I learned how to market, I learned how to organize and manage, and basically doubled the practice within 6 months, brought on an associate because I was so busy, trained my staff and the office manager, and 6 months later, at age 38, I was semi-retired. I was only practicing about 20 hours a week, and had some other business ventures I was getting involved in, and I wanted to expand the dental practice and get a second location. And when the partners at the management company heard of that aspiration, they offered me a partnership. So in December of 93, I sold my practice to my associate and became a partner at the dental practice management company. Today, we are arguably the largest dental practice management company in North America. We have clients in 48 states and 5 provinces in Canada. And over the years, I've been able to work myself out of a job. And Neil came on with the company, and he's one of our main sales representatives. And I started turning over what I was doing to other staff members. Now I have a company of over 70 staff, 5,500 square foot building, etc. And through some friends and some other business connections, I was actually asked to speak internationally to non-dentists. So for the last couple of years, I've traveled around the country speaking to non-dentists. And when I came back from a 2-week trip to South Africa, I became inspired with the feedback that I was getting that I really can do this in a broader sense in the general business arena. So that's when I started Matterhorn Business Development and Matterhorn Recruitment. And these two companies now are focusing only on sales representatives and sales training. And I'd like to kind of turn it back over to Neil for a second about he kind of evolved through his teen years and kind of what brought us to today and why we're different.
Well, my story ties in with his, obviously. But when I was about 14, my dad was very smart. And instead of just letting me run around in the summertime and get in trouble, he started having me do odds and ends around his management office. And then he had me start attending some of the seminars that dentists and doctors were attending. And I started doing some of the training that's involved with management and statistics and organization. And one day I was going through a course, I think it was on statistics or organization, and it just sort of hit me. I was about 14 or 15. I was like, you know what? This is way better than school. So I told him, I said, hey, guess what? I'm not going to go back to school. I'm just going to do this stuff. And my dad's like, no. You have to finish school. So basically, school at that point to me just became, for better or for worse, I just wanted to get through it. So I got through high school before I was 16, or right around I turned 16, and I passed all the tests. I did everything I needed to do, and I said, okay, I'm done. And he's kind of like, wow, okay, you actually followed through with something. Normally I do things my own way, right? So I started then doing more and more around his company, and he said, hey, do you want to go to business school? Do you want to get an MBA? Do you want to do things like this? And honestly, I looked at the curriculums and a lot of the things that were out there, and I found them to just be underwhelming. And with what I had already learned in 2 years from the age of 14 to 16, I already knew more than I was probably going to get out of an MBA. So I started working at his company as the low man on the totem pole. And for about 6 months, I set up meetings, I set up events around the country, and all I did was just watch him with selling people and working with people, and it just started to fall into line for me. And within about 6 months, instead of just watching and assisting him, I started doing my own closings. I started going out and doing my own meetings. And at 16 years old, you have to know what you're talking about for anybody to see you. You know, they talk to me on the phone and I've got this deep voice and I sound like I know what I'm talking about, so I sound like I'm about 30. And then I'd show up at their office and I've got dorky glasses my mom picked out, braces, pimples, and they're like, wait a minute, are you the guy talking on the phone? Like, yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me. And they're like, so how old are you? And I would have to deflect the question and not answer because I didn't want them to think, you know, I can't learn from this guy. But luckily I had talked to people over the phone and they thought I was 30 and I acted like I was 30. So I just sort of would deflect that question and say, well, I've been doing this for quite some time. Why don't you show me your office? And I would just do it that way. So for the last 15 years, once I finally hit 30, I was like, I finally don't have to lie anymore about my age. I could actually be myself. I want
to cut you off for 1 second. I got to tell you, my favorite Neil story, even to this day. So Neil would line up the meeting and he and I would go out and we'd do an evening presentation and then talk to doctors about a training program that at the time I believe was $7,800 or something like that. $8,000, something like that. And so we did the meeting on a Tuesday night, and then there were 2 doctors that could meet at noon on Wednesday, and they couldn't change. So there was one prospect I was more excited about than the other. So I'm going to go to the one less exciting, and I told Neil, just go. You've been watching me now for 6 months, and just keep the doctor busy until I get there. So I finished with my prospect and I call Neil and I'm on my way. Just keep the doctor busy. And when I put to the doctor's office, he's standing on the curb. And I'm like, kid, I told you to keep him busy. So he jumps in the car. I'm like, what are you doing? I told you to keep him busy. And with a smile on his face, he reaches in his pocket and pulls out a check for $7,800. And
I was waiting for like 10 minutes. I don't know what you were doing. He failed to close, I got to close. That's all that's important.
And I'm like, how did you do this? I hadn't talked to him. I hadn't coached him. And he says, Dad, I've been watching you for 6 months. And that's when I knew Neil was going to be special. So we have worked closely together for the last 15 years. We have a blast together. And I just had to interject that story.
Well, I think that story is what really separates Matterhorn from a lot of other companies out there. Is we've been doing this. I mean, how many people in the field of training, in the field of sales have you trained? 50, 60,000 people maybe?
Yeah.
That's just in the field of dentistry.
Yeah.
I mean, not to, say anything about other sales trainers that are out there. They're great. They sell their product. But the thing about us is that we're always constantly selling something. Not just, be a client of Matterhorn Business Solutions because we're going to sell you on it. Like, this is something that we've honed over the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been closing since I was 16 years old. I mean, that's something that really I feel like separates us, is that I'm always learning something new about selling because I'm always out selling, not just selling our services. We're always out there. You do charitable contributions and fundraising events and black tie dinners. I mean, that's all selling. And I think that that's something that I really think is fun when it comes to doing this Matterhorn business development stuff. Is it's like, this is what we do all the time. We're not just selling services. Mm-hmm. We're selling other products every day as well, and it's a lot of fun.
The thing that Neil and I do well together is
we finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, exactly. But what we do well together is we definitely are creative thinkers, and we're willing to take on a new challenge, a new business, a new company, and go in and kind of like break it down. And what's the product and how do they get their prospects and what is the sales process here. And so we do not consult people. We do not tell people what to do. Neil is a total result of training. I am a total result of training. And so what makes us different is we are going to teach sales representatives and we are going to teach business owners on how to figure out their situation, their system, and their product and program themselves. So we don't get monthly fees and consulting fees and annual contracts and that kind of thing. Our main intention is to be trainers and to help people stand on their own 2 feet. And I believe that's the key point that makes us different.
I agree. Yeah. And being out in the field of sales all the time, a lot of the stuff that you see out there when it comes to sales, there's scripts and there's, you got to do X, Y, and Z. And a lot of that stuff doesn't work either. We're not going to have any scripts involved. Right. I have 0 scripts in anything that we ever have sold because scripts are fake and they don't work. So when it comes to the sales training that we provide, it's hands-on and it's customizable for each individual user, which is a lot of fun for us because otherwise it'd get really boring to just hand out some scripts. And I like being able to go into a business and I learn the business with them and get to think with it. And you get to be outside of the business because the business owner or the sales rep that's so used to just selling X, Y, and Z, you lose sight and you just get focused really in on that X, Y, and Z. And then somebody like us comes along and it's like, oh, well, we get to be outside of the problem and look at it from a little bit of a broader view. And I think that that's also something that's very different and unique is that we're not one track minded. We're not just only work with this product or with this type of people. It's just if you want to learn how to sell or you have sales reps that need to sell better, then that's the type of solutions that we bring to the table. And I think that makes it a lot of fun for us, but also for the people that are going to be enjoying these services is you're not going to be getting the same old thing. There's no scripts, there's no patterns. We're going to come in and kind of customize everything for each individual's needs. Which
totally customized.
I think separates things out also.
So then you say that we don't use scripts.
Correct.
All right. So then how would you describe our philosophy, like the foundation of our philosophy? How would you describe what it is that we teach?
That's a good question, and it's a big question. But here's what I would say. First and foremost, we have to get rid of the stigma or the idea that selling is bad. And we're never going to teach people to sell a product that is fake or doesn't work. So the snake oil salesman who wants to learn how to sell his snake oil better, you can go somewhere else. It's totally fine. We're here to sell people honestly. And I think most people hate being sold something when they become the product that they're trying to buy. I was just talking to you about this. It's like, why do people hate being sold a car? Well, the truth of the matter is you go to the car dealership and you don't feel like a person, you feel like you're the car. You're talking to a salesman and he's just so used to dealing with one item that he looks at you as a car. It's like you're not a person anymore. You're like, oh, a $700 a month payment equals this car. And when he's talking to you, you're a $700 a month payment. You're not, no, I'm just trying to buy a van. I don't need 5 of these things. So really learning how to communicate and find out what people need and want in an honest way and help them obtain what it is that they're looking for. And I think most salesmen think that their job is to move items and to move spreadsheets and to move contracts. And you really forget about the person that you're dealing with.
Yeah, it becomes about hitting quotas.
Which there's nothing wrong with hitting a quota. I mean,
we have quotas.
I'm going to make you hit your quota too. But it's not, the sales meeting is not about how many of these things can we move. It's about how many people do we need to come into contact with and help and talk to using real communication skill sets that aren't just about a dollar amount or whatever it might be. I mean, you and I could sit here and tell hours of stories of buying cars. I mean, I'm already sold on buying something and I have to close the salesman on selling it to me. It happens at the mall. It happens everywhere you go. It's like, no, I'm just trying to buy this item. And it just runs around in circles. So we don't want to teach people how to sell something using sales tricks. That's what I'm saying. Sales is not about deception. Sales is not about finding out how big of a thing you can sell or how much money you can make. It's about helping the person achieve what it is that they need and want. And I think if you learn how to do it the right way, people are going to love you and respect you, and they're going to send you a lot of business as a result of that. It is not using magic parlor tricks and ways of verbally getting people to commit to things and all these, weird ideas that are out there about making friends and getting them to trust you and all that.
And I'd like to expand on that just a little bit. So he's right. Oftentimes when a sales rep is approaching you, you just get this feeling like you're just a statistic, you're just a quota, you're just a number kind of a thing. So my basic philosophy that we are pushing is whenever someone approaches a sales representative, they're trying to solve a problem. No matter what product it is that they're looking to purchase or what service, they have a problem. And if it was super simple and they knew exactly what they wanted, they could probably get it on Amazon right now. You can buy anything on Amazon. So when someone is looking to get help from a representative, they want help with their problem. And our trainees oftentimes say that I really don't feel like I'm selling anymore. Exactly.
That's right.
The whole idea is help the person. And in order to do that, you have to get in communication with them. You have to ask them a lot of questions. And the rule that I have is I keep asking questions until I can be their problem. Till I fully understand their problem. I understand the emotional effect that it's creating on them. Like, are they losing sleep? Are they kicking the cat? Are they stressed out? Crying over their bills? I mean, what is the problem emotionally? What is this causing them? What effect is it causing them? And as I'm getting this information, now I have my product or service and I start to align how I can help them. And this also means that as I get more information, I may find out that I actually can't help them. I may have to refer them to a friend or a colleague in another industry or at another company, because really my objective is not to sell them, my objective is to help them. And if my product or service can't really help them, then I'm going to refer them to someone who can. So that's our basic philosophy. And the other purpose that Neil and I have is to really start to debunk sales myths that are out there. It's just like, the used car sales rep or the sales rep gets a lot of trash talking about him, like, oh, you don't want to be like that. Well, guess what? That person was trained. They didn't just like show up and they were turned loose on the floor and now they're bad. No, car companies, many have their own training sales trainers. And that person who is treating you like a number was trained to do that.
Trained by a person.
Trained by someone else to be that way. And they're just doing what they were told. So in defense of sales reps who you say are bad or who offended you or whatever, they were taught that. So there's so much poor sales training out there that we are out to debunk. And there's this one, I'd like Neil to kind of respond to this, but one rule is ABC, baby, always be closing. So I would like you to just kind of address our particular view of ABC, baby.
Well, I'd say ABC is like, it's a good, it's funny, always be closing, and believe me, as a salesperson, you always do need to be closing. Otherwise, what are you doing, right? But at the same time, the connotation has become very sleazeball. Mm-hmm. It's become very much about, always close the person in front of you for anything at any time. It's just, you always have to be selling something. And the truth of the matter is, that's when you start going down that path of losing sight of the person and losing sight of who you're dealing with. Most times the selling really sells itself.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
As
You'll find the product just starts to roll out, and you start finding out the problem, and you start finding out what's going on, and all of a sudden the sale just kind of happens naturally or very smoothly. But the always be closing mentality is very much about, how can I sell you something now? And it's not about, how can I help you today? It's not about, what can I do for you? It's not about, you know, maybe this is a sale I get 3 months from now. It's very much, how do I do this now? Which opens the door to lying and trickery and poor salesmanship. I mean, go to a car dealership and tell them you're going to buy a car in 6 months and nobody's going to help you. You'll go to 6 dealerships like we did. And then you'll buy 6 cars from the dealership that did help you. But the idea that always be closing mentality is kind of just more thinking about yourself than thinking about the person in front of you and what they need and want. And so we kind of look at the always be closing. It's funny. It's actually kind of an inside joke. If I ever say always be closing, I'm never saying it seriously. It's always just being sarcastic or whatever. But I do get that it is a common mentality. But what you'll find is that most people don't agree with it. Even a lot of salesmen don't like the always be closing mentality. So that's not really going to work through our program. You really have to have your attention on the person in front of you and what it is that they need and want first before you can really help them find out what it is. And a lot of times you might spend 30 or 40 minutes with somebody to find out what they need, really.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not going to, people don't just walk in and say, this is exactly what I'm looking for. There's usually a lot of other things behind that. And that's how you get fixated on money. Like, I don't remember what it was that you said a few minutes ago, but something made me think of it, where if I'm ever sitting with somebody and we've just been talking about money and it's all money, 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 and well, what about this? And could you pay for something like this? And could you do this? And the longer we go down the money path, the more I know something's been missed, because it should be like that.
Right.
The money is always going to work itself out if you're selling a valuable and a good product.
And you have your attention on the prospect and helping them solve their problem.
Yeah.
And the moment it starts becoming all about the money,
You've already blown it.
yeah, there's something wrong. You got to circle back around and say, well, wait a minute now, what exactly is the problem we're trying to solve here? This is my solution. Do you have questions for me? Or maybe there's something about your situation that I missed. Because we know that people, for the most part, can find money to buy whatever it is that they want. Whether it's, people are paying $5 or $6 for a cup of coffee when they could go to McDonald's and get it for $1. So that's a small purchase. But then also during the down economy of 2008, 9, 10, I didn't see a Mercedes-Benz dealership go under, or Porsche or BMW. So people can find the money to pay for the solution. And if it's degraded down to the point where it's just all about the money, you need to circle back around and talk a little bit more about the problem. And kind of dovetailing with always be closing, it kind of also sets up the mentality that if I didn't close this particular prospect, then I'm a dork, I'm a loser, I'm unsuccessful, I'm never going to make it. So kind of dovetailing with that is our philosophy of, you don't want to close them all. You actually don't. And it's been broadly promoted. Don't know if it's any particular author or guru, but we know that 20% of the population is trouble. And if you've been in sales for any length of time, then you can think of that one prospect that you closed and you wished you had never seen them. I remember one particular dental patient where I had gotten $5,000 from them for their treatment. That's a significant amount of money. And it was never right. It was way before I knew what I was doing. Knowing what I know now, I would have just kind of let that patient go to someone else. But I remember I'm in my lab talking to my chairside assistant, and I said, they paid me $5,000, and right now I'd give them $10,000 to leave. So if you've been in sales long enough, you can think of your own situation, but there are certain viewpoints and philosophies and gurus that is like, well, if you don't close them all, then you can't sell and you're never going to make it. And I don't like that. I completely 100% disagree with that. And it kind of comes back around to where there's just so much in the area of sales that it's just bad information.
It's just a lot of false information.
Misinformation.
False ideas, misinformation.
And it sets you up as a sales representative to lose, to feel bad about yourself, when in all actuality, the people you didn't close today, we probably wouldn't have closed them either. So what we're also out to do in Matterhorn Business Development is we're out to spread sales training that actually works. Sales training that honestly anyone can do. And
sales actually used to be a very honorable profession.
It did.
What was it, the 50s, 60s?
Things started to change.
As
soon as the books started to come out.
As soon as the books started coming out, yeah. But it actually used to be a very honorable profession. The insurance salesman.
Yeah.
These were honorable things. I mean, now it's like you're sneered at.
Well, and part of the problem there, I believe, is if you're a sales rep and you're just going to grab any product so you can go sell it and be the number one sales rep in the country and get your commission and your Porsche. There's nothing wrong with that, but do you believe in the product? Do you believe in the service? Yeah. And so what I tell people all the time is, maybe you have a job and you're not in sales and you're like, oh, I can never sell anybody anything. And I say, well, back up for a second. What do you like? Oh, I like wood crafting. I like knives. I like guns. I like this. I say, good. So tell me a little bit about that. And as soon as they just start giving me all kinds of information and all kinds of data, I say, you could actually sell that because you know about it. And so my view, our view, is you have to like the product. The product has to be real to you. You have to believe that the product and service that you are offering up is really going to help the person in front of you. And I'd like you to expand on that just a little bit more, just about product knowledge and your purpose.
Well, that's again another broad question, but I would say product knowledge, just from a salesman standpoint.
Yeah, and then your purpose for that product.
Well, each salesperson has to have a reason why that they want to sell it. Now, maybe it's money. Maybe it is because if you can sell it really well, then you're going to make a bunch of money. That's fine, but realistically, you're going to need probably a little bit more than just money motivation underneath it. The truth of the matter is, let's be honest, doing things for the money doesn't usually mean it's the right thing to do. So if you're going to sell something, have a reason behind it and learn everything you can about that product so that you can sell it and that you can talk about it. The product knowledge is really important to understand, and so don't try and sell something if you don't know. You need to know that product inside and out so that you can really talk about it and go over the differences about it.
And if you have that product knowledge and you have that purpose and that mission to help the person in front of you, all of a sudden, all the pressure goes away, worrying about the scripts goes away. Now you're just trying to inform the person in front of you and give them your knowledge. And by all means, if you don't have the knowledge, they ask you a question, you're not a dork if you say, let me go talk to my sales manager, or that's a really good question. I've never had anybody ask me that before. I mean, just be honest. And the moment you start to pretend, because we've each had this happen, a prospect will ask a question that they know the answer to, and it's just a test. So that if you're going to give an answer and you're just going to make it all up, and just so you look like the person with all of the knowledge, you could be getting set up. So the point here is, we really believe that if you have a product or a service that you are knowledgeable about, you are passionate about, and you have used that product or service and you're winning with it, then by all means we can teach you how to sell it. And
we could teach you how to sell that faster than an experienced person with no drive or detail or knowledge about a product. You would outperform the best salesman from that characteristic alone.
No doubt. No doubt. And I do want to talk about the money aspect, because we're not sitting here saying money is bad, money is evil, you should always sell things for the cheapest amount. And no, money is not bad. All right. Money is a tool. Money can be used. We drive nice cars. We live in nice places. We take nice vacations. So there's nothing wrong with that. But what we bristle against is looking at the prospect almost like
it's just if you see dollar
piece of
signs.
Meat. Yeah, they're just like, oh, what's in this? What's in this for me? And
how many times have you and I turned money down because we didn't want to touch
Totally.
I'll pay you double if you do X, Y, and Z. Nah, that's okay. It's just probably not for you.
Right.
It's not just about money, and the money is only a reflection of how many people you've helped in reality. If you make a lot of money, then you're probably helping a lot of people with your product or your service or whatever it is. And I would say that really the communication ability of a person is going to be represented by how much money they make, you could almost say. But money only becomes a problem when your motivation is money. When all you want is money, then you have an issue. You know, I mean, everybody's money motivated to some degree. The bum on the corner with a can, he's money motivated. I'm money motivated. But is the reason that I'm doing this, or the reason I'm helping somebody for the money? No, that's not why you get into it. If that's why you got into sales, you might find it difficult. You might find it difficult. And so I would say you have to find another purpose. So
move on.
I would just, we're at 30 minutes now.
Really?
And I feel like if I don't stop you,
we're going to keep going.
So
going
that
forever.
was my little, like,
okay.
wrap it up.
All right.
Our director is telling us that we talk too much. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a lot of videos coming out on this channel. This is going to be one of the first main videos that you see when you click on the Matterhorn business development or Matterhorn recruitment site. This is going to be one of the first videos that you see. But the truth is, as you can tell, we could talk for a long time. This was not scripted at all. We didn't even have an agenda. We just started talking.
Right.
So you're going to see a lot of videos like this. And what we would love to have is participation from you, the viewer. Leave some information or some comments on what do you need help with. What type of problems do you run into with closing, prospecting, asking for referrals, selling, whatever. Leave some information below, and then we can start doing more videos specifically on different topics. So I think for here we're going to call it quits for now.
And I just
want to
end,
else?
Yeah, I just want to end off with this. Matterhorn Business Development is the training side of the company. We also have Matterhorn Recruitment. So if you are a sales rep and you're looking to advance your career, you are looking to change industries, move your career forward, better paying job, or maybe you realize after watching this, well, I really don't believe in this product, then we also do sales placement. So we will place you as a sales rep. So by all means, call us. We'll leave a number on the screen or a link to get to us, right, Abby? So contact us and we will help you. Now, everyone watching this, we have our first free online sales training course, and we would like for you to do the course. It's a seminar that I did to real estate agents and mortgage loan officers at Amalie Arena in Tampa, where the Lightning play hockey. And it's a 2-hour seminar. It's broken down into 3 to 10 minute videos. There's questions. It's personalized. You get a Matterhorn gift for completing at the end. So the address is courses.matterhornbiz, B-I-Z, dev, matterhornbizdev.com. We'll also make a link for you there so you can go to that. So take our free course. Give us your comments.
I'd love to hear as much feedback as you guys
please.
can. And at the end of the course, you get an hour-long consultation with one of us.
That's right.
So if you want to sit down and you want to ask us questions and pick our brain, do the course, talk to us, and see where it goes from there. And we'll be in touch with you guys soon.
Yeah,
Thank you very
that's
much
it for
for
now.
watching.
Thank you.